Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our professional development webinar series today on how to use Cloud BQ to manage your construction contracts. We appreciate all of you for taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. Later, towards the very end of this event, we hope all information we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. To avoid any noise interference, your microphone has been muted, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the question box on your right, and we will answer it at the end of the presentation. As for today's sharing session, it will be conducted by our Service Manager, Mr. Zen Ng. Zen is a QS graduate, and for the past 3 years, he has helped to build up BuildSpace clientele and also assisted our client, including Gamuda, in their digital transformation. Standing in the front line of BuildSpace, Zen has had a lot of in-depth conversation with construction developers, contractors, and consultants on their needs and requirements in digitalizations. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Zen Ng to begin our agenda for today.
Okay, thank you, Kila, for the introduction. So, hi everyone, good afternoon. I hope you all are doing fine and safe during the MCO period in Malaysia, and also for some of the friends that from the overseas. First of all, I would like to say thank you. It's very thank you for every one of you for attending for today's webinar session. So hopefully that we can go along for side by side for this discussion until the end of the discussion. So actually, we also would like to invite every one of you to help us to do a little bit of the survey by filling the answer from the post. Actually, the post will be put out on your screen during the discussion later on. And so let's get started. So for today's topic, we'll be discussing about how to use the Cloud BQ to manage for our construction contracts. So before we get started, let us go through on the agenda for today's webinar session. So after the introduction, we will be talking about the definition and also the importance of the cloud. And we will be also talking about how the cloud actually changes in the construction industry. Follows, we have the conclusion with closing. So first thing first, let us talk about what is the cloud computing. I know it sounds a little bit of the technical to every one of us, but let us to study a little bit on what is the cloud and actually how the cloud is relatable to the construction industry. If we want to give a straightforward definition of what is cloud, actually cloud is the terminology where we store our data or our information into online instead of storing into the hardware. The clouds, the terms actually refers to the server that access over the internet and the software and the database that runs on the servers. If we take a look back in the 15 or 20 years ago, before the internet was insanely fast and everywhere, the data processing will only happen in our computer, and the data will only store in our hard drive. Means that we were constantly limited by the hardware. If we lack of the computing power to run the program, then we will have to upgrade on the computer. If we ran out of the space on the hard drive, of course, we have to delete some of the files or buy the external drive. But as in for now, actually we have been surrounded by the cloud, where I believe most of us have the experience of using the Google Drive or even for the Dropbox. And actually all these applications can be considered as a cloud as well. So as now I believe that we have the better understanding on what actually the cloud is. So let us further discuss on about what are the importance of the cloud. Why do we still need to use the cloud? The most important of having the cloud is we can actually access the same file or the same application at the same time by using any device. This is why that if we have a new phone, we can actually transfer all the existing data from the old phone to a new phone. And take for example like the Facebook. If we log in our Facebook account by using the same account, we still can able to see all our photos or the videos and also the conversation history in our new phone. So another part why the cloud is so important is because it can be used as a safe data repository. Take for example, if a big organization transforms their business into cloud, the data from the businesses or the companies that are located in the different countries can be also recorded into one platform. This will be very, very useful and also easy as a top management. We can actually monitor on the ongoing business. Since all the data is stored in the cloud, which means that the online is made easier for the companies to operate internationally, because all the employees and also for the customers can access to the same file and the same application for any location. So another importance and also the benefits of using the cloud is we no need to manage for our physical server or run a software application that on our own machine, since all of this can be done in the cloud. It is somehow changed the nature of the data storage because before the clouds come in, we all actually have to spend a significant amount of the money to build out with the hardware, infrastructure, and also for the maintenance costs. And for this case, for the business point of view, switching into the cloud actually helps to save a lot of the expenses in terms in the IT costs and also for the overhead. So this will also be very, very attractive to the small businesses that may not have been able to afford on their own internet infrastructure. Since now we know that how important of using the cloud, so let us further talk about how the cloud actually can change in the construction industry. So one of the big impact if we use the cloud in the construction industry is we can always reduce the project risk. As we know that the construction industry is unlikely the other industry like the manufacturing. Take for example like an iPhone. If a new iPhone being designed in this year, we can actually replicate the new iPhone design and then sell to the millions. But it doesn't work in the construction industry because for every single project is very unique from its design, the planning, and also the method of the procurement. So because of the uniqueness of the construction project, we need to utilize the cloud to help us to analyze or to simulate some of the potential risks throughout a massive volume of the data which is already stored in the cloud. So another big point is if we're using the cloud, it's able to making the better business decision. Also, if we have the massive volume of the data in hand with the right qualified people, we can actually bring in the more insight to the project and ultimately leading to a more information-driven decision by the client and also for the management level. Another big point that how the cloud actually changed the construction industry is it will speed up for the construction process. One of the factors that prolong with the construction process is due to a long approval time spent by the client. But if the client have the right information in hand through the cloud, it will eventually driven the faster approval process in an effective way. Also, there is another big plus point for the QS consultant, where using the cloud, actually we are able to shorten the period of time required on the preparation of the tenderer comparison report during the construction tendering stage. Because what I heard from one of my friends that working as the QS, usually one QS will take up almost half of the working days just to do the arithmetic errors checking for one contractor or even for one tenderer. So let's imagine if we have 10 tenderers that submitted their tenders at the same time, so it means that we have to spend 5 full working days for the one QS consultant just to perform all the arithmetic errors checking, which is very, very time consuming for a consultant QS. And also, but if we use the cloud, actually this type of the comparison report or even for the arithmetic checking errors can be actually automated in the cloud. So also thanks to the internet and the cloud, all the construction members able to stay connected at all times because it will keep everyone connected. The project information can be updated in the real time. Even for the project, the problems from the project can be resolved as soon as they have been identified by the user. And the most importantly, for the communication between the construction members is well recorded in the platform. Means that it will indirectly reduce the chance of the miscommunication and also will reduce the chance of the dispute. As referred to the point number 1, by using the cloud actually can increase the ROI of the construction industry because we will having the massive of the data that helps to reduce the project risk. And also we will reduce the project expenses. So therefore, for the cloud, actually is the key to improve for the productivity and also aiding with the risk management and also maximizing the ROI. Last and the most important point why we need to use the cloud is because it will always help to create an accurate estimating for your project. This is because by having the cloud data comes with the ability of better planning. And then the better planning always will increase the possibility to improve the budget estimates and will giving a better understanding of the cost and the timeline of the project. So because more and more data can be analyzed in the cloud, which allows to have the better insight that we can be very, very useful for the project team members, especially for the consultant, for the client, or even for the contractors. Also, there is no doubt that we need a DTU-BQ in order to create a more accurate estimate for the project. So therefore, please allow me to talk about what are the importance of the BQ. So as referred to the last Friday webinar session, which conducted by my colleague, the Desmond, on discussing on the importance of the BQ and also how it would affect the risk in the construction development project. So as in for now, for today, just in case some of the participants here didn't join for our last Friday meeting, webinar, allow me to have a quick recap on why the BQ still means something to us. As we know that nowadays there are many software or even the technologies that attempts to replace the need of the BQ, especially come with the new procurement arrangement and also the emergence of the BIM. But for all this year, we are always, when we are serving for our developer clients, we are still able to see that the necessity and the importance of having the DTU-BQ for the very type of the works are still very, very high. So now, let us take a quick rest for the 30 minutes to have the quick poll to help us to select with the software application that we'll be using for the BQ preparation. I believe from your side, you will be able to see for one question. It's called what is the software application that you use to prepare for your BQ software? Please fill in for the answer and we will continue with the webinar session later. The poll will be closed in the 30 seconds later on. Then we will further continue with our slides. Okay. So let's continue with the importance of the BQ. The BQ always provides the best basis of the estimating, the tender comparison, or even for the contract negotiation. So, By having the BQ, it will always provide the better insight of the project at the early stage, because we all know that the BQ has the description and also with the quantity. That means that we can always identify what are the scope of works just by looking at the detail of the BQ with the description. And also by having the drawings and also the floor plan that's shared by the other consultant. Let's say, take for example, for the engineering, the engineer or even the architect, we can actually use the BQ to identify some of the potential problems that may not apparent at the first sight. Another reason why we still need the BQ is the total budget of the estimate can be actually well analyzed in the detail. The detailed measurement of the BQ quantities are the great info to be analyzed and also can be used statistically in the cost planning like the S-curve at the early stage, which will have the allocation of the project cost and the timeline to be projected in the S-curve. Another reason the BQ is so important is because by having the detailed BQ, we are able to have the better control in the variation cost, because it will always provide the best means of the controlling the cost of the variation in the contract. Substantially, it helps to reduce the risk of the over budget from a project. And also the contract BQ always used as a basis to evaluate the valuation of cost with the contract rates as our cost estimate. So for the last point, why the BQ is so important to us, because it will always reduce the contractor's overhead. As for the contractor side, by having the BQ actually help the contractor to lower down their estimation risk. And also since the BQ allowed all the contractors to tender at the same basis, therefore it will help to reduce the contractor's overhead, and eventually it will link up to our previous point where it will have the better control in the variation cost in the post-contract stage. Since now, I believe most of us are quite clear on the importance of the BQ, but why some of the projects are still willing to proceed the project without their detailed BQ, also called the lump sum BQ. To discuss on this, let us talk about what are the challenges that are facing by the QS, especially during the project in the tendering stage. One of the main challenges that are facing by the QS from the project is the preparation of the tender BQ is very, very segmented. Because usually for one project tender BQ will be handled by the team of the QS. Means each of the QS will have to prepare their BQ in the different set of the Excel format, like one view for one Excel file. Then eventually we have to compile all the Excel BQ into one Excel file again. So it seems like the practice of moving one BQ from the Excel file to another, it will potentially consist of the human error where the BQ copy might have to issue that it will copy the wrong BQ or even the description. And also, it's difficult for as a consultant, senior consultant, or even for the contract manager, it's difficult for them to monitor on the BQ progress if the tender BQ is so segmented into the different Excel file. As we know that the QS works are very, very labor intensive. And realistically, for some of the project might not have the sufficient time for the QS to come up with the proper detailed BQ. Due to the limited time frame that given by the client, eventually they only have to call out the tender just to base on the lump sum BQ. Therefore, in order to tackle the challenges that I mentioned just now, please allow me to talk about how and why to consolidate the BQ in the platform. As referred to one of the challenges that where all the tender BQ is very segmented. So for this part, we are able to know that what actually will happen if we convert our BQ into cloud, and where all the consultant QS can be actually accessed in the same platform to prepare for the BQ. So another part of the discussion, we'll be talking about how to utilize the data in the cloud to create a more accurate budget estimate for our project. And for this discussion, we'll be also actually in line to the previous topic, actually how to improve for our planning performance if we have the full set of the BQ with the accurate budget estimate. And another point is, as we refer to one of the challenges that we discussed just now, this part will be discussing on how the cloud automate a certain process to speed up the construction tendering process. So the last topic will be, we'll be discussing on how to utilize the data in the cloud to present a better insight in the construction contracts. So let us take a look in the first topic on how and why to consolidate the BQ into one platform. Imagine we have the standard set of the BQ which is being stored in the template in the cloud. So actually the BQ description can be always reused for the BQ preparation for the new project. So take for example, if we want to prepare the BQ in the cloud system, we can always go to create a new build by putting the build title. Take for example, for the build number 3. Once we created the title for the build, we can actually go inside the build to further import all the elements details from the library in the cloud. As what we can see from here, we can actually select all the elements that import into the certain views, and based on each of the elements, we can further go to import the BQ description from the library as well. We can always tick and choose which BQ item we want to import into the project. So in this case, we are able to standardize for all the BQ description, and also easier as a consultant QS, you only have to pick and choose whatever items that you want to import to generate with a new set of the BQ. And we also know that for some of the consultant QS, they are still relying to use the Excel to prepare their BQ, as well we can see the result from the poll just now. So if the cloud actually allows the flexibility, because the idea of the cloud is to consolidate all the BQ into one platform. That's why we have the flexibility to allow the consultant QS, they can actually import their BQ from the Excel into the cloud system as well. So from what we can see from here on the screen, normally for the consultant QS, they will prepare the element, one element in one sheet. So in order to import in the system, we can simply just to upload the Excel file by doing the minor changes of the adjustment, and also we have to do some minor mapping to map which column actually is the description, the quantity, and the rates. Then we can further import all the elements details, including with the BQ description, with the quantity and the rates into the system. As once we imported, as you can see from here, when we drill down to the item level, we can actually still amending with the BQ. And also, I believe that for some of the QS or even consultant or even for the contractors, they are still prefer to have a set of the hard copy BQ in hand as a record purpose. So in this case, for the cloud, we can always go to convert our BQ from the cloud into a PDF format. Means that for all the construction players, they can actually print out the BQ as a record in the hard copy. So for what we've shown just now, so by having the cloud system to manage with the tender BQ, we can actually consolidate all the tender BQ regardless of the prelim views, the standard view, the prime cost view, or even for the provisional sum view into one platform. That's what we can see from the screen here. And also another point why we want to use the cloud to manage for our BQ is because it will allow us to standardize with our BQ description by importing the BQ detail from a library in the cloud. And also, it is another good platform for the management level, even for the senior level. Let's say for the senior QS or even for the contract manager, they can actually monitor the BQ progress from time to time, which is the BQ might be prepared by somebody else. So secondly, this part will be talking about how to utilize the data in the cloud to create a more accurate budget estimate in the project. As what we can see from here, one of the good things that if we use the cloud to manage for our resources in terms of the material price is because for all the material price will be constantly updated by the user from time to time by referring to the supplier rates. As you can see from here, we can always pick and choose which supplier rates we want to refer to. So if we have all these resources information in hand, we can actually do the build out rate in the system as well. We can always prepare the set of the build out rate in the system for the use of doing the estimation for the BQ. So from what we can see from here, each of the BQ item, we actually can break down with the material price for how much, the labor for how much, or even for the plant for how much. So take for example, let's say if we want to do the estimation on the BQ, we can always refer the build out rate that we prepared in the library as what we can see from here. The bottom part actually is your BQ, and then we can always pick whatever items that we want to price, and then further refer to our library, which is shown at the top panel, and then we can further just by clicking import. So in such manner, by doing the pricing, the estimation for your BQ, the system will auto analyze for you, let's say for the cost distribution on how much will be the concrete cost for this project, and we can always drill down to the item level to see the breakdown details for each of the items, let's say for the material price, the labor, or even for the plant. Ultimately, the system will help you all to do all the total cost distribution analyzation, also easier for us to do on the material bulk checking. The reason why we want to use the cloud data to come up with our accurate budget estimate is, the first point is we are able to distill the cost data across the different projects in the one single platform. This will be very, very useful as for the consultant QS, we will always refer the cost data information from other projects as a benchmark when we are doing the budget estimation. And another point that why we need to use the cloud data is because it's able to maintain the build out rates with the latest market rates. It's also important for the QS to build out with the item rates, which could be used for to do with the estimation for the BQ items. And also we can always maintain the accuracy of the build out rate, since the material price can be constantly updated by the user throughout the cloud system. Another point that why we need to use the cloud data, because it will also perform the data analyzation for the user. Because since throughout the cloud, we have the formula is built in the cloud system. So in this case, we can know our cost distribution, and even we can do the material bulk check once the budget estimate is done. So for the third point, please allow me to share with you on how we improve our planning performance if we have the full set of the BQ, or even for the cost plan with the detailed budget in the cloud. One good thing about using the cloud is we can actually come up the planning S-curve as soon as the BQ detail is firm. With all the BQ elements, we can actually tap with all the detailed BQ with the budget estimation. And since for all the BQ will come with the cost estimation, we can utilize the information to able to know that how much will be the total cost estimation for each of the elements. And with this information, actually the S-curve can be generated from the cloud at the early stage. So from what we have shown just now, the good thing of having the cloud to manage with your project planning is because we are able to generate the S-curve once the BQ or even for your details estimation is firm. So as a client's or even the consultant's point of view, we can actually monitor our project budget estimation and the time incurred at the early stage. And even sometimes that the S-curve doesn't seem like in the S shape. But don't be surprised that because for the S-curve, it's actually reflecting based on your actual cost estimation, which is far more accurate if we compare to come out the S-curve based on our assumption by the wastage or even by the percentage. So for another point, as referred to one of the challenges that we discussed just now, allow me to share with you on how the cloud actually able to help to automate certain process in the tendering process, which will result in speeding up the construction process. As for the consultant QS, if we want to call out the tenders once our BQ is firm and finalized, we can always utilize the cloud. As we can see from here, all the BQ description is already finalized. We can always go to come up with the list of the tender, the contractor list by selecting from the contractor pool. So take for example, for this tender, we want to call out for 3 contractors. We can always tick to select to come up with the contractor list. And then we can further go to utilize the system to export the BQ in the Excel format. Take for example, from here, we can actually export the BQ in the Excel format by typing with the file names. So once exported, each of the contractor will be receiving the Excel BQ for them to do the pricing. So for the contractors, when they receive the Excel BQ, they are only to allow to key in for the BQ rate in this case. And actually the Excel file will auto calculate for them how much will be the amount based on their BQ rates. So let's say for the contractors already submitted their pricing, their Excel file, we can actually import back in the system. So once imported, actually the system also will do the comparison for the user. So take for example, for this project. So if we want to see the comparison side by side for each of the contractors, we can drill down to up to the item level for the BQ. If we scroll to the right, and what we can see from here, it will display all the contractors submitted rates side by side. And thanks to the standardization of the BQ description, we can actually utilize this function. The cloud actually can analyze for you by using the same description for the BQ item, how much that we already awarded from the past project. So we can always take to choose which item we want to use as the benchmark for the comparison. So until now, let's us have another quick poll again to see how many of us actually are intended to do the e-tendering for the upcoming projects. So from what we can see here actually is the result from all of us on the poll. Actually, I can see a lot of people are still intending to transform the tendering into the cloud for the upcoming projects. If we practice to call out the tender, our BQ tender through the cloud, first thing first is the cloud BQ will allow us to strip off the time needed on the sending the hard copy BQ to each of the tenderers or even the contractors, including with the transportation time. For another, the cloud BQ is actually in the effect of the document management system, because for every tenderer's BQ submission will be recorded into one place. Meaning to say that we can actually utilize the cloud platform to generate the tenderer comparison automatically. It is always I can see this one is a big plus point as for the consultant QS, because if we follow the conventional way to doing with all the tender evaluation, normally the QS will take days or even up to weeks to key in for all the tender rates submission into one Excel file sheet for the comparison. Also, by using the cloud, it will help to reduce the time required for the arithmetic checking errors based on the tender submission, because for each of the Excel file that we exported out to the contractor for pricing, actually will comes in the built-in formula. Means that for the contractor, they are only allowed to key in the BQ rate in the Excel file, and then the Excel file will actually auto calculate the amount based on the BQ rate submitted by the contractors. So ultimately, it will help to reduce the time and also required in the tendering process by adopting some automation in the process. Lastly, let us talk about how to utilize the data in the cloud to present a better insight in the construction contracts. And again, thanks to the cloud, if the project's in the post-contract, we can actually always compile all our VOs into one platform, as what we can see from the screen here. And for the VO preparation, as the consultant QS, we can always come into here to mock up with the detail, budget, the estimation, to come up with the net omission addition. And another benefit of using the cloud is we can actually download or even upload any documents such as the architect instruction or the EI for the VOs. Means that we can always keep our documents into the cloud as well. On the other hand, the BQ work done for the every month can be updated through the cloud as well, so that we can actually easily to check on our claim information from the previous month. So from what we can see from here, we can actually key in the percentage based on the work done. Either it's based on the element level, or we can drill in up to the item level to key in for the BQ work done. It's either by the percentage, or even by the quantity, or even by the amount. If we key in with the quantity or the amount, the system also will auto calculate for you on the percentage of the work done. So as I mentioned just now, the BQ work done can be actually recorded in the system for every month. And also for us, it's easy to check, let's say how much with the payment that we have to pay for the contractors for this month. And we can always check on our previous month of the payment status as well throughout the cloud. And last thing, if we want to do the remeasurement for the project in the cloud, we can always utilize the cloud system. Take for example, if we go to the remeasurement module, in this case, we can drill in up to the item level for the BQ, and we can actually key in the new quantity after remeasurement. So once we key in, another big point is it will auto sum up for you with the net omission addition. So if we back to a level, we can actually see the summary of the comparison, the omission, and also the net omission addition. For the conventional way, especially if we use the Excel to manage for our construction contracts, we always need to create a new Excel file to update for our BQ work done for every month. Means that if the project construction period is 24 months, then we have to create a 24 Excel file just to update the BQ work done for every month. Therefore, one of the best things of using the cloud is actually we can manage our construction contracts. It's about the continuity of the data. Means that we can actually reuse the cloud BQ starting from the pre-tender stage all the way until the final account stage. And because if compared with the Excel, the copy BQ from the Excel to another, we have the potential risk of copying the wrong formula which has been created in the Excel. And another big point for having the cloud is actually cloud can be considered as a safe data repository as a project document, because all the documents like the AI and the EI, what we showed just now, can be uploaded in the system as a record. This is beneficial to all of us by having all the construction site reports to be well recorded in the system, because it can be used for your own protection in the dispute. In overall, by having the cloud BQ to manage for the construction contracts, able to provide a better insight of the project to all of us. In the project documents, the project progress will be always up to date and also well recorded in the one system. In overall, by digitalize for our business process into the cloud, actually not only provide the benefits to the organization itself, it will also bring the values to each and every level within the organization. Take for example, as a top management. As a top management's point of view, digitalization helps to bring the more value to the organization, and also it helps to the organization to keep in pace of the competition. But when it comes to the business unit manager, such as the contract manager or the project manager, digitalization actually helps to consolidate all the work process into one platform, which is easier for all of us to monitor on the project progress. And I believe for some of the companies might have the IT department, or so-called the digital transformation department, or the digital strategist. Digitalization actually helps to provide a better data management solution, because it will have no physical limit for the data storage. And last thing is, as an employee, digitalization actually helps to improve our own skill set and also the quality of the work. And speaking of the philosophy of the digitalization, we actually hope that the organization are able to achieve efficiency and also the transparency, as a top management able to have the better control or even the visibility on the ongoing project. And also as an executive level, we are able to improve the quality of the output by utilizing a total solution to store all their project information into a cloud as a safe data repository, and also transform some of the processes into the automation, and ultimately it will achieve with the digital transformation. And please allow me to share a bit with you on our solution with so-called the BuildSpace. As what we can see from here, the big green circle, the BuildSpace e-project actually consists of the list of the features that allows the user to manage their project starting from the pre-tender stage until the final account stage. And what we can see from here, the e-project actually consists of the BQ library, or even for the e-tender management, the vendor management, or so-called the project management. On the other side, we have another small circle that we call the BuildSpace Pro. This one actually consists of the list of the features that allow the user to manage the contract details in the cloud system. So for the last, let us to have another round of the last quick poll before we go into the conclusion. As what we can see here, if you have the BuildSpace is in place, do you wish to set up the BuildSpace system for your team to work in cloud? We will be continue after the meeting on our Q&A session. So from what we can see here, actually, I can see a lot of the audience. Yeah, you maybe consider the BuildSpace system to work in cloud. It's a plus point to us. So lastly, we also would like to share with you on our latest MCO package, so-called the Do Your Best, We Do the Rest, by helping you all to achieve the idea of utilizing the cloud system to work from home. And also, since we still have a little bit of time, if you have any question, actually please write in the chat box at the right-hand side, I believe so. And for our colleague, we will sort out the question, we will answer to you accordingly. From what we have shown here, you can see for some of the questions that are raised by the attendees. So we will be having the question number 1. How safe are we talking about in terms of the preparing our BQ in cloud? Okay, if we are doing the BQ in the BuildSpace system, our data actually will be saving in the digital ocean, where the cloud firewall has been guaranteed for all our users will be given a private and a dedicated server to keep all the data with the access control. Speaking of the safety, having all this in cloud can actually rescue us from any unwanted event and the accident as can be compared to having our work done in the physical server. So eventually that will reduce the downtime in our work as well. We will be another question called, do we have to build our own course library from scratch? That's the first question. BuildSpace service team will always help our client to set up for the library in terms of the course library and also for the BQ library for the first time. And also, we are having the promotion to help all our users to bring our own existing project, the hard copy I mean, into the system. Another question is, what if we need the contractor to input the additional information into the BQ that we give them? If we were allowed to contractors to add in the new description in the BQ, we will have another use of the approach. Okay, let me sort of put this one. In this case, back to the question, what if we need the contractor to input the additional information in the BQ that we give them? If we want to let the contractor to add in a new description in the BQ, then we have to use another approach by defining with the item type, because in the system, we have another function that the consultant QS can always define with the item type. For certain item types that we can actually allow the contractor to key in with their own BQ description, even for the unit or the quantities and even for the rates. And comes to another question, can we do the rates rationalization in the BuildSpace? Yes. When the cell of the BQ has been pushed to the post-contract stage, we can actually allow the user to carry out for the rates rationalization to form with the contracts. And we have another question called, let's say we are to engage your service. What is your lead time? For this question, yes, our SOP is always to put up in the live within the 48 hours upon the receiving the PO. And also we have the training to be done in the second week, that we can start to work in cloud. We have another question, yes, can we prepare the Gantt chart in the pre-contract stage? Yes, we can, as soon as the BQ is done. Another question will be, can we bring up the tender comparison? And of course, by using the cloud, actually we have the function that all the BQ comparison can be able to export out in the Excel format, or even they can convert into the PDF format. Does the student get the free demo? Yes. Please register with us. Our service consultant will liaise with you as soon as possible. Follows to another question. The building work library and also for the infra work library is separated. Yes, we can maintain the different set of the library as intended by the client. So leads to another question. Is it still possible that to amend the tender BQ after we publish to the tender for evaluation? The answer is no, negative, because when the BQ is published to the tendering stage, we are able to allow the user to amend for the BQ unless we are going to issue the addendum. How the e-tendering system works, how they submit the tenders for the contractors. As what we showed just now, for the BQ that completed in the system, we can actually call out to invite the contractor. They can either to submit the BQ through the Excel format, or we have another advanced system where the contractors, they can actually log into your system, the cloud system, to directly key in all their pricing to submit for their commercial tenders, including with the technical submission as well. Do your team provide the training for the student? Yes, for sure. We also provide the talk to the students. Please allow to talk with us, then we can actually arrange for it. Can the cost analysis to be done? If the cost analysis is referred to the cost per GFA or even for the cost per NFA, yes, it's possible. And it comes to another question, how long to migrate from the hard copy system? Well, this depends on the size of the BQ. It's about a week to convert the BQ or even the project into a system. Then we have another question, does your system allow the tender to submit the unpriced item? Yes, in this case, but we will highlight from those unpriced items as a notification to the tenderers. Then we have another question, if we have a set of the BQ as a lump sum, is it still possible to do the remeasurement during the final account? Yes, as I mentioned just now, as what we shown just now, but please remember that to draft the tender document properly, the system allowed to do the remeasurement in the post-contract. And we have another question, is there any recorded version of this webinar session will be provided for the studies and also for the better understanding? We will prepare another summary in Excel, and also we will give out the video link for the reference. We have another question. Currently, we are using the IFCA for the construction management system. Can we use your BuildSpace in collaboration with the IFCA system? We actually open for the integration with the other software, but we will look into this. In fact, for the few years back, we actually talked to our friends in the IFCA. We have another question. Can the tenderer submit by keying the included in the item 2 for the BQ item with quantity? In this case, not really. Cost is still pretty much of the pricing columns. Well, meaning to say that for the contractors, they only to key in the figures, so-called the amount in the pricing column. Do we need to go back to the BuildSpace to change with the format? For this question, I believe that we might need to talk in the detail on what sort of the format that we are looking at. So actually, after this session, I believe we all will receive another feedback form to fill out. Actually, if you need any further info from us, you actually can fill up with the feedback form, and our consultant team will further liaise with you. Yes. How can it benefit on the contractor side? Yes, of course. Actually, back to the last Tuesday's webinar session, we are talking about how the contractors able to maintain their profit by using the cloud system. If you need any info, as I mentioned just now, you can always submit the feedback form. We can arrange for another round of the discussion with you privately. Do you charge us if we need to change or to amend the system? In this case, yes, any customization is based on the discussion. We have to discuss on what are the scope of works or even the details of the system, and we can actually assist in this matter. And for the last question, there will be no last question. So in overall, thanks you all for the feedback. It's quite overwhelming. And once again, as I mentioned just now, I believe you all will be receiving the feedback form right after the session is ended. So in order to help us to improve, please fill up the feedback form, and if you need any further info from us, we can actually arrange for the private session of the discussion or even for the presentation to every one of you. So I believe that's all for today's webinar session. And once again, I would like to say thank you for every one of you, and stay safe, and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mrs. Zan, for the plenty of food for thought on the subject matter. I hope our participants are well informed on our webinar series on today's topic, how to use Cloud BQ to manage your construction contracts. If you have any more questions, feel free to let us know through our email, or you can also note it down in the feedback form. In order for us to improve ourselves to serve you better, you can scan this QR code to fill in this feedback form. Your kind help is very much appreciated. I will still open the floor if you have any questions. And once again, thank you for your participation. And I hope we can see each other again in the near future. And please stay healthy, everyone. Have a good day.